Hello and welcome to my presentation on game-based learning, reflexivity and MAHARA, entering a reflexive classroom. My name is Paul Armstrong. I'm a lecturer in Organisation Studies at the University of Sunderland. Unfortunately I can't be there today with you in person, but what I've done today is I've done a recorded presentation of what I would have covered in my session at the Irish Symposium on game-based learning in Dublin. First of all, to give you some sort of like theoretical and methodological context, this session is based on ongoing research that I've been doing for a couple of years, based around creative artistic pedagogical practices, which I have used in a variety of modules to develop reflexive mindsets within my own reflexive classroom, which I will define later on. The adoption of the creative pedagogical practices within human resource management teaching has allowed me as a researcher to develop, design and deliver a range of activities and assessments which has allowed the students to engage within the learning process. Also to have fun while learning, also to be insightful, creative and reformat ideas in a range of ways. This has included students designing toolkits, designing reflexive and reflective storyboards and designing games. For today, I'm going to focus on designing games for a final year human resource management module called Exploring Equality. Okay, right. The challenges for reflexivity and overcoming what McIntosh calls reflective reproduction is to try and move towards more critical reflexivity by developing the reflexive classroom. This for me is the fusion of artistic, creative, pedagogical practices where learning technologies enhance the reflexive and reflective mindsets of the users. By being able to use game-based learning, I've been able to give the students an insight into their own understanding. Now, unlike a majority of game-based learning, which is about using video games or simulations, I have not done this. I challenged the students to actually design a game, and the game was a metaphor I used for them to overcome that understanding. So I want to make that quite clear. I didn't use simulations or computer games as many people do in game-based learning. I used the metaphor of the game. Right. So the module where I'm focuses on was a final year module called Exploring Equality. It is a 20 credit final year module which is delivered to students who are on the HRM program, but also an optional students on management. Now, the purpose of the assessment was for the students to design a game which will allow the users to overcome their stereotypes and perceptions and increase awareness around an area of equality. They were given a menu which included areas such as gender pay gap, sexuality, dealing with older workers, religious expression, and what they had to do is they could either adapt a game. For example, some students did snakes and ladders, some did top trumps, some used game shows such as Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and £1,000,000 Drop, or some actually designed a game from scratch. And what they had to do was they had to demonstrate their game to their peers using peer review, which is a 15-minute demonstration which they were marked on by their peers. They also included a copy of the game and a reflection of their theoretical and methodological evidence which inform their design of the game, and embed this within MAHARA, which is an E-based portfolio system which I've adapted and used a great deal within the past 3-4 years as part of my own pedagogical practice. Now, to demonstrate this, I'm going to give you one example. I can give you many examples, but for the time I've got, I'm going to give you one example. Amalia is one of my final year students, and she actually achieved the highest mark in the module. What you see in front of you now are her words. They're not what I've said, these are her words. This is how she's expressed what she did. As you'll see later on, I interviewed Amalia, and I'm going to show you her interview, and she can express to you how she did it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play her interview with you, and after that I'm going to go through and show you what she actually did through MAHARA. Enjoy.
Hello, I'm a final year student studying for a degree in Business and Human Resource Management. One of the modules that I took on this year was Exploring Equality. There was 2 parts to the assignment for this module. The first part was the design of a game based on an equality area, and the rationale was to create an awareness and challenge stereotypes. The second part of the assignment was to then reflect upon the design of the game and discuss the rationale for it and to justify the value of the game. So the first part was the design. My game was based on top trumps, and the equality area that I chose was dealing with the older worker. The game was based on a group of miners being stuck down the mine, and the game participants had an instructions sheet and also 5 cards that contained the trapped miner's profile. So it contained a picture, the age, the name, and some general information about that trapped worker. So the game participants had to read through the information and then choose out in which order the miners would be rescued. Unknown to them, one of the workers was in fact an older worker. So I'd used the model of Stearns and Dole's 5 approaches to conceptualising of age in workers. So I embedded those 5 different approaches into the profile of the older worker, unbeknown to the game participants. And the whole purpose of the game was to get the natural reactions from the game participants in relation to stereotyping of older workers. So that was my design and that was the game. The second part of the module was reflections. So this is where we were able to upload blogs onto an online system called MAHARA and discuss the rationale for our game and also discuss the value. This is where we were able to be reflexive. So we could use various tools through pictures, videos, lyrics, and also implement theoretical models that helped us design our game. Within this sphere, I was really able to explore my personal justifications for choosing that equality area. I did an HR placement in my 3rd year, and I did a lot of recruitment. During this time, there was a skill shortage of engineers, which was the main role that we were recruiting. So one of the initiatives, because of the skill shortage, was to contact ex-retirees and see if they were interested in coming back to the company and working on a 0 hours contract. So a lot of those workers were older workers, and this is what triggered my decision to choose the equality area dealing with the older worker. I was able to reflect upon this within my MAHARA review and show to my tutor or external marker my rationale for choosing that equality area and the reason why I designed the game the way I did.
Okay, as you've heard from Amalia in her own voice, you've heard why she designed the game she did and how it improved her reflexivity. Now, she underpinned her research using a variety of models and frameworks, and she used the metaphor of top trumps to design it. To demonstrate this, I'm going to show you her actual MAHARA view now. So what I'm doing, I'm just logging into MAHARA. Okay. So, this is the view. So, as outlined before, the students, what they had to do within this e-portfolio system was to outline their game, then give some sort of rationale for it using the theoretical underpinning, right, and then do some sort of reflection on about the journey about doing this. And part of the reflexivity model that I use is I use poetics, and I get the students to use alternative sources of expression, for example, poetry, videos, lyrics to express how they've learned. But just to give you an overview of what she was able to produce. As you can see in one column, the column going down now, you can see she outlines the game she's done, she describes it, then there's some photographs which demonstrate what she did on the day with the participants, and then what she's got as well, she's got a kit. So this kit here could be used for a developer, a trainer, to develop a session on doing all the workers, and it can be adapted. And then she's given a summary of what they are there. Right? In the middle column, what she's done here is she's outlined using the theory, both from the professional perspective, from professional bodies and pressure groups, as well as academic material to support and explain why she designed the game that she did. Alright? And she's gone through a particular theoretical framework in HRM, which is called the employment cycle, and she's underpinned it and supported what she's doing. And in the final column, what she's done is that she's talked about how she's used it to express her understanding about topic area. She's looked at her own reflexivity by using lyrics here to explain how she understands some of the challenges facing older workers. And then what she's done as well is she's given some sort of awareness about the value of it, about what she's learned from it, and about the feedback she got from her peers by doing a survey at the end of the demonstration. And she's also given some sort of analysis about it. And she's given some sort of personal rationale about it, about how it's made her learn about older workers, how it fits in with her own work experience, because she did an industrial placement at Nissan, and then also about how she started with the concept. Okay, so that gives you an idea. So the reason why I use MAHARA, because it allows students to embed multiple media to help them to understand their own thinking behind an area. Okay? Right. To conclude, for me, game-based learning has a great deal of transferability. Now, I recognise that there are people who use simulations and use games in a different context than I do, and I recognise that, and I even know people do it. By using the metaphor of the game, it's allowed me to improve engagement and the fun side of learning with students. The feedback I collected from the students showed this. It's one of the areas that they engage with. Now, one of the criticisms of this is that sometimes the students actually lost themselves in the metaphor of the game, and that's part of what I've learned myself and reflected on myself, that if I use this again, that I have to ensure that students actually get the meaning behind the metaphor. It's not the metaphor itself, it's actually what they do with the metaphor, and that's part of my own reflection about how I can improve this. It also allowed the students, and what I recognised from the games that I marked and I was privileged to actually view, was it allowed them to challenge their own inbuilt values and views about equality. I teach equality from a societal perspective, not just a workplace perspective. To really understand equality and to really improve self-awareness, you need to challenge who you are and your own values, and that's partly what I try to get the students to do. Look beyond the law, look beyond procedures, and actually look at societal perceptions and how people take these into the workplace. By using creativity and imagination and insightfulness, it allowed the students to express their understanding within their own language, which reflected their own learning style and their own approach. Not all students are read-write. Some students are more visual or kinetic learners. The technology MAHARA has allowed me to allow the students to facilitate the learning journey, to give them within the classroom the opportunity to have the space, time and support to develop their understanding of self and where they're going. This is just one example of how I've used the Reflexive Classroom, and I found game-based learning a very insightful and imaginative way of trying to explore awareness. Thank you for your time. I appreciate anybody who has any comments about the research I'm doing. Again, I'm sorry I'm not there in person. I'm happy to discuss this with you through email, and I look forward to any feedback you may have to improve my research. Thank you for your time.